Hi. So the reading I'm doing today is a bit of an unusual one. I've got someone who I've done a few readings for before that two cards keep coming up, and they are the toxic card and the toxic and the poison card. And so what we're doing today is we want to explore that a little bit. So we're sort of asking, what do we need to know about the negative, bad habits, lack of joy, all these things that those cards represent? What we just want to, I guess, illuminate a little bit about what parts of the life they might be involved in, or where they might be stemming from, to see, obviously, if there's something that she might be able to do to move forward or to move through this. So it's really interesting for me. So what I've done is I've actually taken those two cards out of here because they are unnecessary for this reading. We know what they are. And in fact, to be honest, I don't want the distraction of them coming up. So what I've done is I've put them here. So we're going to use those very simply as what we'll call those the anchor cards, because we know the subject. We're not looking to see what it might be about. We know what the subject we're going to look at about. So I'm going to leave those cards there. So we know what they are. And they're very similar, these cards. In fact, the only way I really differentiate them is poison can be a little bit from coming from the outside, and toxic can be perhaps a little more of what is coming, what's sort of within and perhaps what's without. So, but really there is, as they say in the biz, a bee's dick of difference between them. But there's still, that's not nothing, but they're not exactly the same. But we'll have a look and see what comes up. Okay, so I've done all my prep obviously before. And so what I thought I would do is pull this toxic card in first, right? And so this is about what relates to the issues that are coming from within, okay? Oh, this is very interesting. Okay, so what we have is a real difficulty. So this is within, right? So these are the things that are causing the negative habits and the negative thinking, and perhaps what's very interesting is here the cyclical nature of the bad habit. So these are definitely caught in. So we've got the wheel and the broken glass. So I'm using this side as a bit more of the cause, and this is a little bit more, of what we could do to help, right? So this is I don't want to say past and future. Well, I'd love it to be past and future, but that's not really what I'm saying. It's really sort of what the basis of the problem might be and what we would be able to, what would be helpful in this situation. Or perhaps, you can look at it as what you need to overcome and what tools you could look at to do that, right? Okay, so looking at these two, we've got a wheel and we've got broken glass. And this is very clear to me that there is great resistance, even violent resistance to change, right? So it's not necessarily to the thing that you're changing to, but perhaps there is some trauma attached to changing things. So to moving on or moving forward, maybe it's changes in the past have been particularly violent in the past. And so this is what you're holding on to, right? And this is not, but this is obviously, anybody could tell you this is not very helpful. And what we could do to help with that would be absolutely a fresh start, which I know is another change, but I suppose this is the point. It's a fresh start and a fortuitous one. So what you really need is sort of so this lily card, I've described it before, I'm sure. It's very renewal oriented, sort of very born again, fresh start, born again. And this goldfish card is very lucky and very prosperous. And I think this will really come down to looking at focusing your sort of looking at a fresh start in the way that you look at things, and looking at the luck. The fresh start will bring you the luck that you need and the fortune that you are after. And I don't mean to sound so I don't know, naff about it, but it will be very lucky and fortuitous of you to have a fresh start and to look at things very differently and to really be reborn. And we're looking at how to get rid of these sort of negative thinking and bad habits, or perhaps where they're coming from, so we can do better with them. But this is really change resistant. So as things have moved forward, you've these changes in your life have been quite messy and violent. I don't mean necessarily in a physical way, though it can be, but they've been violent in regards to what your experience of them. They've not been necessarily very pleasant changes. They've probably been out of your control and against what you've really wanted, and this has caused a trauma for that. And you really need to have a fresh start. So you really need to release this pain that you have and start again, because that's when your fortune will change and you will become luckier, and and then, obviously we create our space, and we have quite an influence on destiny. And so you will attract. It is about your attraction, and a fresh start will allow you to attract more luck and more fortune and more prosperity, which who minds a bit of prosperity? Right. So the next one I want to look at is the poison card. Now, this poison card is more about the influences from the outside of you. So this is in regards to your experience of these things, and this is more about what is surrounding you and what is coming in from the outside. So I'll just do a little shuffle, because this is what we're doing. We want to find out a little bit about what outside things are influencing your negative bad habits. Feelings of loss and lack of joy and those sorts of things. With a mind to what you need to take into, or what you need to focus on or to look at to get over it. Right, so, isolation, loneliness, and a knife. Okay, so this is, it's interesting. Okay, so from the outside, meaning from the outside of the influence, what we've got is this owl. And so this is an isolation, and I would imagine from the outside it could all actually, I'm going to hold back on that actually. I'm having another really strong feeling about that owl. So this is about separation. So yeah, I would say this is definitely a separation. So it can be what's the word I'm looking for? So this is a detachment. This can be detachment, separation, as in, when you think if you surgically remove something and you cut it out. So you have been cut off from your wisdom, which is interesting. That could also have a slightly magical tone to it, but I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Just get an overview of this lot. And the man and the crown. So the things to look to get over. It's so interesting. So what would a male influence in your that is in a leadership role? So this crown is about in your head. It's about intellectual issues. It's about leadership. It's about let's stick with those two because they're the ones that are coming to me quite strongly. And this man here is looking at this. So again, this is very good in your future if you look at this. So you've got sort of prosperity and leadership, and you've got this man that's looking at it. And I think there is a man involved in your success, right? Or not in your success, because I don't want it to sound so businessy. I think we should really focus on the fact that this is about the success of your letting go of these things, of the toxic and the poison, and the cause of these things are the poison from. This is more an outside influence is a loneliness and a detachment. So I think the main thing of it is you've been cut off. I wanted to ask us if you're here. I feel like you've been isolated. And I don't know much about you in this regards in particular, but this very much feels to me like you have been isolated by an outside influence. And I'm sorry I can't be of any more help to you with what that influence might be. I'm guessing that will ring truer to you, but and it's left you very lonely. And this is and probably in your head, I imagine, and that's probably caused quite a lot of quite a lot of distress for you. And looking forward, I think it's about finding a man. I don't want to say finding a man. God, that sounds so unfeminist. But I think you'll find that it is a man and your intellect that is going to be. So, I mean, this doesn't necessarily have to be romance, but this can actually be. Hate to say it, this could be a therapist, this could be a teacher, this could be a friend, this could be a father, a brother, it could be a whole bunch of men, but it obviously is a very male influence because it doesn't seem to quibble. And it is about a leadership, and it's about your intellectual part of it. And I think being from the outside, I would say that's also about learning. So there is a lot to learn from this, this is great. Can I say, by the way, I think, look at the fact that what you need to get, what the tools you need are also positive, right? And it's not really surprising. These are the things to help to aid you in getting rid of these things. And while these are passive enough and interesting enough, the negative cards have all come down, not surprisingly, but it just nothing, but these negative cards have really come up on this side. And both of these things, when you look at it, so from the outside and from the inside, both are quite violent, but the knife, even though it sort of can be a bit more surgical in regards to not necessarily physical violence, though it can be, and the broken glass, both of these are really, really unpleasant cards. Like just think if we had these kind of cards here, what that would be saying. It's so real. And so if you're ever having any doubts that there is some trauma that you need to get over, do not. This is absolute evidence, quote unquote, of deep trauma in your things that have happened to you, and I would imagine the wounds that you carry because of those, because these are probably match. So it's not surprising down here if this is more of the cause of it. But I'd like you to really to look forward to what a fresh start would be able to give you, and your luck changing so wonderfully. And what you can do about that is perhaps seek out some, or not necessarily seek out, but keep a really good watch on for a male person. And I say male person because it doesn't actually 100% have to be like, genetically a man. I think it means, it could be a woman with a really massive yang influence about it, but definitely very male characteristics. I'm trying to sort of be a bit wishy-washy there. I think it's most definitely a man, really, when I think about it. What else could it be? A man who is helping you with your head. I don't know what else to call it. Do you know what I mean? Like with your intellectually. So this would be your healing. Okay. So if this was the cause, this is the healing. If this is the disease, this is the healing. This is the medicine that you need. Okay. You're welcome to follow up, as always, with any questions. This is a new way for me to do it. So it might be a bit disjointed, this particular one, because it's a new spread that I did just for this, because I wanted it to be quite specific and encapsulated what the influences are and what the influences were and what the influences will be and what the cause was it. So it's a new way of me doing it for me. So but I can't believe how strongly this has worked out, and sort of how clear it is about it. Anyway, I hope it's clear for you too. You know how to get a hold of me, and let me know if you have any particular questions about any areas. Okay, thanks. Bye.